Hey there, everybody. It's Jenny Clark with Solvability, another session of Freedom Friday. And today we've got Russ Barnes back again, talking about setting your systems for GovCon success. So Russ, you're a former Air Force and retired and PhD, and you're always talking about strategy. Take it away. Tell us what we need to know.
Thank you, Jenny. It's great to be here for another Freedom Friday session, and I'm happy to see our participants here. Thank you for joining us. As Jenny mentioned, getting into this very quickly, as Jenny mentioned, my strength is strategy and organization, and I execute those through strategy development and organization design. The point is to be intentional about the actions that you take. It came to me because I saw so many people, including myself, using trial and error to figure out how we were going to succeed. And it's very painful. And as Jenny mentioned, my background is in the military, and I'm gonna skip this one very quickly. And I started out as a radar navigator. So my job was to help us make sure we got to where we needed to be, mission after mission after mission, and we had to be on time and we had to be on track, and that was my job. So I developed that mentality early on in life and early in my career. I moved on to become a strategic planner at a high level within the military. I was responsible for the nuclear war plan that really was a deterrent against Russia. And then I moved into senior leadership, where I was not just responsible for the planning and the structures and the strategy. I was responsible for the information that went into them. So policy was, how do we interpret what the president says we must do to protect the nation? So when I retired, I wanted to go into business. I knew that we had come up with ways in the military in combat situations where we just had to be able to respond very quickly in an accurate way. We couldn't get it wrong because people would die. So I expected to have some type of a progression when I went into business for myself, and I didn't find it. So here I am thinking, there's got to be a progression, there's got to be a framework, and I just couldn't find it. And the reason is because in the non-military environment, they just didn't have that same community of people who were all focused on the same thing. So what I decided to do was to create those structures for myself so I could be successful. And what I realized was that there were other business owners around me who were struggling with the same thing. So I set out to try to help. I created Sistro Solutions as a way to do that. And my goal and my target is to come up with ways to communicate effectively so that people can take advantage of their skills, talents, and abilities. And in the chat, not in the chat, but on LinkedIn, there was a comment about today's session, and I responded by saying, despite the complexity of business, each of us can do things our way. The key is in creating the frameworks that fit your skills and your mindsets and your interests. So what we're going to talk about very quickly here is, we talked about strategy previously, which is how do you get from where you are to where you want to be. Today, we're going to talk about 6 systems that give you the ability to think in a methodical way about what you need to do. And I'm putting this into a GovCon context, so I'm going to just show you a quick slide. I love the milestone maps because it's visual and it gives me the ability to see things in a very clear way and to have conversations around that. And you can see what's relevant to you. So the 6 systems, your sales system, your marketing, your financial systems, your human resources, your production, and your administrative, cover just about everything that you have to do as a business owner. And so this is not in necessarily a progression order. This is just designed for you to be able to see it on one slide. Above the line are the big picture items. Below the line are some of the details that we get into when we think about what happens above the line. Now, below the line is where you have the ability to bring your own creativity into the process. And that's what I want to talk about for about the next 10 minutes or so. So in the sales aspect of things, these are some of the considerations. And one of the things that I found in working with small business owners is that many times we begin with a solution. You know, I think that I can help people do this, and you have a solution. And then the challenge is you can't communicate effectively because people will only pay for things that are a solution to a problem that they have. So now we spend a lot of time searching around for the problem to describe why people want and need to hire us. So if we sort of follow this progression and say, let me understand and communicate and create the language that communicates the problem, and then we look at the product, and within the GovCon community, you have two real sources there, the NAICS codes and other similar codes like the SIC codes and so forth. And then you have your commercial, what you do in the commercial community. You definitely have to have the right pricing. And then there's the presentation, who are you talking to? And in cases within the GovCon, it'll probably be a contracting officer, or it may be someone from the small business development office. At the end of it, what I like to recommend is that you have a written sales process, something that says, this is how I attract clients. This is how I educate them on what I do, how I help them. This is the offer in terms of what they get for what they pay. And then this is how you get paid. So that's the sales piece. The marketing piece is very supportive of sales. And one of the things we have a real challenge with as veterans is promotion. And we have to solve that problem. And so as you begin to think of the second system, how are you promoting yourself? How are you going to do that both online and in person? And what you really want to do is just establish your credibility in terms of your capability and your capacity. Capability being, I can solve your problem. Capacity being, I can solve problems for this many people. You know, are you going to be just a one-person business? Are you going to have 10 to 15 employees? Are you going to have 100 employees? Are you going to go after $1 million contracts or $10 million contracts? What is that, and what credibility do you have to make that happen? And of course, everything in the government contracting business focuses on past performance. If you have a really strong, solid past performance, then you have a really good chance of winning contracts. The next system is the financial system, and this is where Jenny comes in with the DCAA, the accounting systems, as well as the compliance systems, and they grow as you grow. So it's very important, again, to look at these systems and understand. Other aspects of the financial system is the banking. Where are you banking? Do you have a line of credit? Do you have a banker that you talk to regularly who can help you understand what your options are? And then there are so many different aspects of funding and financing that you can tap into. The next system is your human resources system. Of course, this is the leadership, the management. Again, it goes to the size of the company that you want to build. And then, of course, there are the policies and the procedures that you have to have in place to run your company. The next system is the production system. Most important in the production system being the supply chain. What is your distribution? If you have a product that needs to be manufactured, how many different sources do you have for manufacturing? Because when you win that contract, they don't want to hear, well, my supplier is underwater, we can't get the materials we need. So you have to have some redundant sources, and that will, again, help you to perform at the level in which you need to perform to be successful. And the final system is the administrative system. And that's where you are getting into the various ways that you bid on contracts, or finding the contracts, executing the contracts. And those of you who are in this business and have done this, you know that with these contracts, sometimes grammar can be a problem, punctuation can be a problem, format can be a problem, and you have to have some type of a system and an approach for making sure that you take care of all those things without fail. You know, you have some ways of getting the first draft done, getting the second draft done, having someone doing quality control. All those are part of the administrative system that you want to put in place. You want to make sure that you have the contacts for legal, and as well as the resource platforms. And there are just so many of them. I just listed a couple here with the GSA.gov and then the SAM.gov. But as you know, there are just many different platforms that you can get into. So with these, the idea behind laying out these 6 systems is that, let's say for me, I just have this slide here and I have it up in front of me. As I'm working with myself alone or as I'm working with my team, if you can just have conversations around the system and say, okay, how are we doing sales? What are we doing to increase our sales over the next 6 months by 10%? Now you can reduce the amount of overwhelm and anxiety because you are focused in on solving that challenge, putting those processes in place, making sure that they run smoothly. And then when you have sales and you know who you're talking to, you know who your customer is, you know your avatar and your persona, when you have all that information in place, it makes your marketing so much easier. So all of these things are integrated, they dovetail, but when you have this type of a framework in front of you as you are going about doing your business, then it makes it a lot less overwhelming. I don't know if that was 20 minutes, but that is really the completion of the framework that I wanted to discuss. And so we can open it up for questions or comments at this point.
Well, thanks so much.
Quick and dirty.
Thanks so much, Russ, for what you covered in that session. I feel like that's what everybody's looking at is how do we think strategically in everything we're doing? And I know that's always the area in which you've really prospered for everyone is saying, hey, stop a minute, what do you need to do and where do you need to go? What I really liked about what you said is when I look across all of those labels and I do something very specific like increase my sales 10%, you're absolutely right. What would I have to do in each of these 6 areas? So it really does seem to fit. So
and the beauty of this, Jenny, is that what you want to do, and what I try to help people do, is to remove the guesswork while retaining your ability to be creative. So within each one of these spaces, if you know that you want to work on the sales piece, you can find people you can talk to, books you can read, courses you can take, and you can educate yourself very well in that space. And you feel very comfortable and confident doing that.
Well, it does give you an idea of, okay, I've got finance handled, but I always need help with marketing and promotion. And for me to stop and say, because I'm not a master at that, I definitely need to reach out. I need to put some planning time in to when I've got to make that promotion happen and what actions I need to take. So, hey, Russ, it's great having you on as usual. Thanks so much today for being a part of Freedom Friday to talk about strategy and systems. And we look forward to future sessions of Freedom Friday with you.
All right. Thank you very much, Jenny. It's a pleasure.